Electric vehicles. You know them, you see them everywhere. They're sleek, they're super quiet, and they've basically been sold to us as the silver bullet that's going to save the planet. But is it really that simple? Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the hidden side of the EV revolution.
Right? This is the big question. It seems like the perfect deal. We get to drive cool cars, and we get clean air and zero emissions. But today, we're gonna look way past that showroom shine and really ask, are these things the flawless green machines we've been led to believe they are?
And look, here's our buddy EcoStick. He's just bought his first EV, and man, is he proud. And why wouldn't he be? He feels like he's doing his part, you know? Cruising through the city without a puff of smoke in sight. This is the dream, this is the image we all have in our heads.
But that whole zero emissions thing you see on the sticker, yeah, that's what we really need to unpack today. We've all heard the pitch, right? That EVs are the ultimate fix for pollution. But here's the thing, every single product has a backstory, a supply chain. And for an EV, that story starts a long, long time before it ever even thinks about hitting the road. You see, to get the real picture of a car's impact on the planet, you can't just look at the tailpipe. I mean, honestly, with an EV, the tailpipe is the most boring part of the story because there isn't one. The real story, the interesting part, starts somewhere else entirely. And to get there, we've got to cut through a little bit of industry jargon, but don't worry, I'll make it quick and painless. This is the key that unlocks the whole mystery.
Okay, the big phrase you need to know is life cycle emissions. It's actually a pretty simple idea. It just means you have to count everything. From the second the raw materials are dug out of the ground, to the energy used in the factory, to all the years you spend driving it, and even what happens when you junk it. The whole shebang. So this all breaks down into two big buckets. You've got your operational emissions. That's the classic stuff, the exhaust coming out of the back of the car while you're driving. And then you've got manufacturing emissions. That's all the carbon dioxide that gets pumped into the air just to build the car in the first place. And boom, this is where the whole story just gets flipped on its head. With a normal gas car, most of the damage happens slowly, over years and years of driving. But with an electric car, the operational emissions are pretty much zero. Instead, almost the entire environmental cost happens before you even get the keys. It's all front-loaded, creating this gigantic upfront carbon footprint from manufacturing. So what in the world is causing that massive manufacturing bar? Well, the lion's share of it comes down to one single, incredibly complex component, the battery. Let's go digging.
The journey of an EV battery, it starts deep underground and often on the complete opposite side of the planet. First, you have to mine for things like lithium and cobalt. Then you have to process those minerals using a ton of energy. And finally, you assemble it all into a battery pack. Every single step is just incredibly energy hungry.
Okay, just let this number sink in for a second. To get the raw materials for just one EV battery, miners have to dig up and move, on average, 500,000 pounds of earth. That's, what, 250 tons? It's just a staggering amount of rock and soil for one car battery. And all that digging, well, it has very real consequences. We're talking about using huge amounts of water, often in places that are already super dry. It means scarring landscapes, messing up ecosystems, and yeah, in some places, it's tied to some pretty awful and dangerous working conditions.
And this quote, well, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's the central trade-off of this whole thing. We're basically shifting the environmental burden. The air in our cities gets cleaner, which is great, no question. But that clean air comes at a serious cost somewhere else in the world.
Okay, so that's the story of how the car gets made. But the environmental footprint doesn't just stop when the car leaves the factory. What happens next? What happens when our friend EcoStick finally gets his shiny new car home and plugs it in?
So here he is, ready for that first charge. He's plugging into the future, ready to fill up on that clean, green electricity. Or is he? This is the next giant question we have to ask ourselves. You plug your car into an outlet in the wall, sure, but where does the juice for that outlet come from? That wall is connected to a huge, complicated power grid. And, not all power grids are created equal.
Here's the deal. An electric car is only as clean as the electricity you feed it. It's that simple. If you live somewhere that gets most of its power from, say, burning coal, well then charging your clean car is actually causing a lot of CO2 to be pumped out at a power plant. All you've done is move the tailpipe from your car to a smokestack 50 miles away. But if your grid is powered by renewables like solar or wind, then yeah, the story is a whole lot cleaner.
So, after hearing all this, you might be thinking, are EVs just a big scam? No, not at all. The reality is just, well, it's more complicated than the ads. So let's try to put all the pieces together.
The good stuff is absolutely real. Zero tailpipe emissions mean our cities are cleaner and quieter. That's a huge win. But the complicated side is just as real. You've got the massive emissions from manufacturing, you've got the environmental cost of all that mining, and the fact that its actual cleanliness all depends on where you plug it in.
And really, that's the big takeaway. Electric vehicles are a huge step forward. They are, but they're not some magical zero-impact solution that solves everything overnight. Real progress means being honest about the trade-offs that come with every new technology. So, the next time you're behind a car and you see that zero-emission sticker, just take a second. Remember the whole story. Remember the factory, remember the mine, and remember the power plant. Not to be cynical, just to be informed. It's about being a smart consumer.
In this way of thinking, it doesn't just apply to cars, right? So the question I want to leave you with is this. What other stuff that we think of as perfectly clean or green might have its own complicated, hidden story that we should be looking into?
Let's discuss that in the comments section. And as always, thanks for watching Alux Live. Subscribe for more.